Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meet Me in Sacred Space podcast. I am your host, Lori A. Andros. This podcast is a place for you to press pause on the busyness of your day-to-day life. It is a place to discover your voice of inner wisdom, reconnect with your authentic self, and to become the courageous creator of your adventurous, vibrant, and spirit-filled life. In each episode, we will get raw and real, exploring what it means to live a soul-led life. We will talk about sacred practices, ceremony, ritual, and dive into in the now, crystal wisdom and insight. Along the way, you will discover practical ways to bring the sacred into your everyday life. So grab a cup of tea, light a candle, get cozy, and let's dive in. Hello and welcome back. I am Lori Andros and welcome to this episode of the Meet Me in Sacred Space podcast. Yes, you are in the right place. If you've been listening to the Crystal Shaman Life, we made a name change. Last episode, we shifted from Crystal Shaman Life to Meet Me in Sacred Space. If you want to tune in and learn more about that change, starting at episode 98 and listening to that series from 98 through 101, you'll kind of get a sense of the flow there. But, it's been time to make a change and to evolve, to go through a bit of change and growth and allow the outer world to reflect what's been unfolding within my inner world. I think we all do this in different ways, in different stages, and in different timing. And I think this is one of the things that is up on the collective for a lot of people. We've been over the last couple of years on deep journeys of inner transformation, and our outer worlds are beginning to catch up. They're beginning to come into alignment with what has unfolded internally. So if you're noticing this within yourself, it can feel a little bit awkward sometimes. It can feel uncomfortable and like perhaps you're stretching into a brand new pair of jeans that's like a little bit tight, and you wear it a couple times and then all of a sudden it's like perfect comfort. But that's how it can kind of feel when we stretch into something new, when we allow that inner expression to come out into the outer world. And this is something I definitely am feeling. I'm feeling this little bit of awkwardness around how exactly does Meet Me in Sacred Space want to be expressed and shared. And I kind of had a little giggle this morning because I went to bed last night with that question in my thoughts and in my awareness. And I set the intention to have a bit more insight and deeper understanding around how this new name wants to be expressed. How does it want to be conveyed from even a video perspective? Because I've been wanting to bring a little bit more video in without talking head type of video, to bring in something a little bit more beautiful and that something that reflects this sacred space experience. And I went to bed and I woke up and I had a dream that was kind of just a bit, goofy. And it didn't really connect for me as an insight into the question I asked. But I have come to know that often what is experienced at night or during dream time is often clarified throughout the day. And as long as my intention continues to stay in my awareness, stay in my consciousness. And I think this is one of the challenges that sometimes we have. We ask for support or guidance or insight, and then we live life and we forget about that we've even asked, or we forget that we were, asking for a little support around something. And sometimes that can be absolutely wonderful. But when we're But there's times when it's really helpful to receive the insight in a bit more of a timely fashion. And for me, I felt like this was one that I wanted in more of a timely fashion. So, so I was out for a hike this morning. That was one of the first things I did. Koda and I went out for a hike, and we walked a trail. And while we were on the trail, some insights began to come forward, and I began to have vision beyond the inner sensations and the inner knowing. I began to see the pieces coming together in the external way, and that was kind of exciting. That felt really, really great. And so I think, this is just kind of a tangent. We're going to be talking about something a little bit different, but I think it's really important that we give ourselves space and permission to be in the place of awkwardness when we are integrating growth and change and transformation and healing, because it takes time. It takes time for the new ways that we're coming to know ourselves to be expressed in the world. And I think so often we see things pop up and we assume it's been it's instantaneous, but there's often a lot that goes on behind the scenes and in the background, and it takes many years to generate the momentum to have things feel in alignment and congruent, and to move forward in meaningful and powerful ways. All right, so here's where I want to go today. I'm in the forest. Yeah, Koda and I are camping this week. We are spending a bit of time at one of my favorite local state parks. This is a place that you may have heard me speak of before. I grew up camping here. I feel like this place feels as much like home as my childhood home itself. We spent many, many weeks and weekends camping here in the summer. When it would be hot at home, we would come out here because we didn't have air conditioning, and the lake generates some wonderfully cool temperatures in the heat of the summer. So this was one of our favorite places. Anyway, Koda and I are out here this week mostly for two reasons. One, we both really needed to get out of town for a bit and into nature and have some really immersive time in nature. And, this was one of those things that we both were feeling. It sounds really funny to say that about Koda, but I can tell, I can see it in her. She likes to be in nature, and she comes alive in a way that she doesn't in town. And I feel the same way. And I think there's something about disconnecting from all of the busyness that happens in our in town, and just really getting down to the basics and being in the camper, being in the woods, moving around, going for hikes, sitting by the fire, being disconnected from all of my many devices is very refreshing. The other reason we timed it out as we did is that last fall, Chris and I ordered some new windows for our house. We worked with a local builder and scheduled some replacement windows for our home. It definitely needs it. Our home was built in the 1950s, and it was kind of an assortment of windows. Some had been replaced over the years by previous owners, and some had never been replaced. Yes, that house has some of the original windows in it. And while they are beautiful, they are very old, and they've definitely served the house well. So it was just time to finish and replace the rest of the windows, and get everything feeling congruent, feeling in alignment, feeling refreshed. And many of the windows, because of either their age or the ways they were maintained or weren't maintained, or the style of window that was used to replace, many of them did not even open. And I am a person who loves to have windows open all the time. So now all of our windows will open beautifully, and we're going to see out the house in a fresh way. But anyway, we wanted to schedule a little time away while they would be doing installation so that they could just work away and make noise, and we could go and do our thing and we wouldn't disrupt each other. So I don't know that the timing exactly worked out as we had hoped. Life happens, but I think it feels really good. We'll be able to come home. I think next week they'll probably have to come back and finish up some of the trim and stuff like that, but that is okay. I am so excited about the fresh view, and I am delighted to have had time in the forest. So Koda and I spent this week just really hiking, being immersed in nature. And I talk about spending time in nature and just how much that helps our energy field to reset and come into a more centered place, and how supportive it is for us in being deeply present with our day-to-day lives, being fully present within our own bodies, and being able to access more totality of our being, and to hear our inner voice, to tune in intuitively. It seems kind of obvious in many ways, right? And yet at the same time, life is busy, it's active, and I think we get pulled into the busyness. We become distracted by, or our energy becomes a bit scattered with all of the busyness of life, and we forget the importance of nourishing and nurturing ourselves in this way. So this week, it's interesting because I think spending an hour, spending an afternoon, spending even 15 minutes in nature is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But there's something about coming out and being in the forest and having incredibly limited access to being online, to texting, to making calls, to checking, different things out, watching, shows on whatever your favorite streaming app is. There seems to be so many more of those than the Netflix, Hulu, Amazon top three, that had been for a while. It seems like that's expanding so much, but anyway, there's something about being disconnected from all of that, not even having that as an option, and softening into the experience of nature, just being present with nature, noticing, listening, being present. As Koda and I were coming down here, I kept hearing a quote by John Muir. And I just love this quote. It's one that often shows up when I'm in meditation and I have gotten distracted and my energy has become scattered with day-to-day life, and I have gotten to the place where I forget forget that, yes, just go spend an afternoon in nature, or I feel too busy to go and do that, this quote often just pops into my thoughts, and it reminds me how important it is. And the quote is, "Into the forest I must go to lose my mind and find my soul." Oh, I love it. I always love John Muir's quotes that kind of, they always feel a little sing-songy to me, and rhythmic, and they feel like a mantra, like something that I can just almost sing as I'm in rhythm, walking and moving and hiking and just being in nature. And there's an uplifting element that I feel with it. So it's kind of like the quote, there's the other one that I love by him is, "The mountains are calling and I must go." His quotes just make me smile. But this, "Into the forest I must go to lose my mind and find my soul." I think our minds become so overactive and busy, and I know mine does. Mine goes into the place of strategy and planning and organizing and taking care of details and creating bits of structure. And while I'm a very creative soul, I also really appreciate having a plan, being focused, having, things organized, and that's my part of my nature is, to have a well organized system. And I can get very easily and very quickly into my head and overthink things, and I know that it's really most important for me to be deeply present within my body, within my awareness, and tuning in with my intuition, and spending time, immersive time, in nature is one of the ways that that happens really quickly. I think we hear about this a lot. We've been hearing, there's been a lot of research that's, shown up in the last, decade or two around the benefits of being in nature, or even hearing nature sounds, having plants in our home, just getting our feet upon the earth, placing our hands upon the earth. There's so much benefit to that. And I think, having that awareness and then expanding that even further, because we have become such a culture of technology and connection through the digital world, I think we need to balance that. And part of being able to balance that is allowing ourselves to be immersed, deeply, deeply immersed in nature. And I think getting outside, spending time outside, listening to the birds, noticing the animals that are around, and engaging with them, being present with them. I feel like part of the meeting me in sacred space, the invitation that's being extended with this podcast, is about connecting with the earth and meeting in the sacred space that the earth offers. And I want to share that with you in different ways. So I'm going to get a bit experimental. It may work, it may not work, but we'll navigate it. And I want to have fun with it. So as we wind down this episode, I want to leave you with that quote by John Muir. "Into the forest I must go to lose my mind and find my soul." It is time to let your soul sing, my friend. Let the life and light within you shine brilliantly in all facets of your life. Spend some time in nature. Reconnect with you. I wish you a beautiful day, and as always, shine brightly. Bye for now.